I guess we could let everybody get settled. Welcome, everybody. Those of you that don't know me, my name's Brian Kaskavalsian. For those of you that don't know this guy that I'm with, his name's Chris Bean. Welcome. Let's see. Okay, so Valerie is here. She's monitoring the chat. If I monitor the chat, I get very distracted. So Valerie will do that for me. Let's talk about questions. I'm sure some of you will have questions. This is going to be kind of open format where, Chris is going to do about 15 minutes. Really good stuff. What's going on right now with search, what we need to do to create profitable lead generation for 2021. Then I'm going to come in and talk for a few minutes about my side of this. But we want your questions. We want your questions, and we will hang out here and we will answer everybody's questions. We'll do some presentation, but we really want this to be interactive with all of you. So we are calling this presentation the Perfect Lead Life Cycle. Because we want to be thinking about this as a life cycle. Too many people think about a lead as just a lead, and they don't think about all of the whole life cycle of that lead and how to maximize your sales and profits from each individual lead. So this webinar is being done by Socius Marketing, which is Chris's company, and G4 Marketing Group, which is my company. And this is also being brought to us by Accelerate Live 2021, which is happening soon in like less than 3 weeks, January 26th and 27th. In Fort Lauderdale. We have this year is our first time that we've got a live component and we have a virtual component. The live component is, I believe, sold out. It's weird because of the whole COVID thing, and we're doing, a totally different setup in the room for the live participants. So we keep like teetering on whether we're at the right number of live attendees or not. As far as I know, we are sold out. But if you still want to join us live, I believe that we've got a wait list that we are starting to form. Virtual, though, is open. We have a ton of companies that are joining us virtual. And if you want to join us either live or virtual, Socius, who's been an amazing partner, has been with us from the beginning at Accelerate Live. These are coupon codes that you can use that you will only see on this webinar. So the live, I should have put this in there, but the first code, LEADS21, that is for the live, and then the one with the V in front of it, V Leads 21, that is for, obviously, for the virtual. Okay, so if you go to accelerateevent.com and you choose either one, live or virtual, just write down this coupon code. Don't do it right now because we're going to get into information, but write this down, and as soon as we're done, go and grab your ticket. This is an event you don't want to miss. 100% risk-free money-back guarantee. Join us for the first 2 hours. If the first 2 hours, the stuff that, Chris, the stuff that I've got planned for the first 2 hours, if anybody comes and joins, I guarantee them that they will make 10 times, 20 times, 30 times their investment of time and money just in the first 2 hours. We're going to get right into how to make real money in this business. Somebody that you and I both know, Mark Curry from Your Remodeling Guys, is going to be one of our speakers during that first 2 hours, talking about the fundamentals of profitability. And if anybody out there in this industry knows about profitability, it is that dude. And so we've got some really amazing stuff planned, and that will be just like the first 2 hours. It's a 2-day event. It is jam-packed with great stuff. All right. So today, to get the most out of your marketing dollars in 2021 and be as profitable as you can be, one, you need effective and profitable lead generation. You need to be able to effectively convert leads into appointments that can actually be run by a salesperson. And you need to obviously effectively convert those appointments into sales. Then you need to make sure that most every job is also resulting in a 5-star review on what I call the sites that matter. There's 3 big ones, and we'll talk about those in a few minutes. And finally, that each customer turns into at least one more customer and or one more job, right? People need to, business people, a lot of business people don't realize the real business that they're in. The real business that all of us are in the customer business, right? We're in the business of creating customers, keeping customers, and multiplying customers. Now, this may sound like, oh, well, okay, Brian, yeah, it's obvious we're in the customer business. Well, a lot of people don't operate that way. A lot of people are, under this, if I ask a room full of contractors, hey, what business are you in? People will tell me I'm in the roofing business. Well, I say the most successful people, and I think Chris will back me up on this because he works with some of the most successful home improvement companies in the country, is that they consider themselves sales and marketing organizations that happen to sell fill in the blank, right? And that, if you want to become a good marketer, which you need to be in this business, right? And being a good marketer also means that you recognize good partners to work with, then you need to be thinking in these terms. Now, a lot of people think, we just need more new customers, more, right? And that's all well and good. We're good. I'm good at creating customers. Chris is great at creating customers. But guess what? You got to also do part 2 and part 3, which is keeping and multiplying. So what we're going to talk about today is Chris is going to talk to us about lead generation. Okay. That's on the create piece. And then I'm going to come in after, and I'm going to talk about the keep and multiply piece. That's kind of how we have this structured today. So Chris, I don't know if you want to add anything to that, but if you want, take over the screen and go with your presentation.
Sure, absolutely. And I think that, what you said, Brian, is 100% right. I mean, you need to have good reviews coming out on a very consistent basis. I mean, we track lead life cycle all the time. We track about the front end cost, the issued cost. And typically when we see a problem with someone struggling to issue leads or convert leads in the first place, is that there's not enough good reviews out there.
Yeah.
People are constantly going out and searching this information out. And if you're not, focusing on leads and making sure that your review presence is really, really strong, then any form of marketing that you're doing is going to suffer because of it. So you're 100% right. You need to be focusing on reviews. So,
yeah.
I won't spend too much time on this slide here. For those of you that know me, you know that I have 25 years of digital marketing experience. I started in the infancy of this entire thing. I work with hundreds of home improvement contractors, really thousands over the years. I've generated millions of leads online. I only say this because I want you to know that everything that I talk about is coming from experience. At heart, I am a true, complete geek or nerd or whatever you want to call it for digital marketing. We study these things, we share information, we conduct experiments, and then we share everything that we learn with everybody on the phone. And the question that I'm getting right now is, what's going to happen in 2021? We all had that huge blip early on in 2020. And now it completely flipped. It started flipping kind of in end of April, beginning of May, or March, April. It's one of those things that we have never seen leads like we have seen before. We saw huge influxes of leads. We saw that at very, very affordable prices. Most of us did really, really well in the home improvement space. And thank God that we were all deemed essential businesses by our government. So super positive stuff for a lot of us in 2020, but where is it going in 2021? and what's going to happen. And that's the biggest question that we're getting. So I'll share some data with you. I'll kind of talk about the state of digital search right now and what's happening in search engines like Google, because it really is beginning to change at this point. And we've seen it, start about 3 or 4 months ago, and it's going to continue down the direction that I'll kind of come to at the end of my presentation here. So the first thing that I'll share with you is that the data still looks really, really good. Now, what you're looking at is data directly from Google. Anyone can go and use this tool. It's completely free. Just go into Google and type in Google Trends, as you see in green on the left-hand side there. And you can begin to study the interest in keywords over time. So even now, we're seeing increased interest in pretty much every category that you could possibly think of as it relates to home improvement projects. Home remodeling, all of these different things are performing, and we see that data continually go up. This is a cool tool. And part of me sharing this is because I want to encourage you to go out and begin to really understand and research what's right in front of you, the information that's out there. You can go in there and study keywords by state and see kind of interest over time. So right now, Kansas is really hot, Maryland, District of Columbia, New Jersey. This is how popular certain keywords are over time in search engines like Google. And you can even go up here and adjust how much data you're actually looking at. So home remodeling is really performing. Replacement windows is performing at a very high level. You'll see that the data changes by keyword, by state. So you break out your individual kind of products and services that you offer and begin to look at these different keyword sets that are out there. But everything is really, really positive. Bathroom remodeling remains super hot.
Chris,
replacement is very hot. Yes?
I have a question.
Mhm.
So it goes 25, 50, 75, 100. What is the relevance of those numbers?
So it's an index and it's interest over time. So what you'll see is that this is kind of a moving target.
Yeah.
So if we see something else happen that's positive for our industry, it will reset the index and climb to a new high. So that 100 isn't a definitive. It moves and it flows based off of the amount of people searching over time.
And how does this compare with other, the other industry you're in is also probably going crazy right now, but like, if it wasn't doing well, then we'd be looking at like what we see here for March and April, right? That
you would see a big downward trend. Absolutely.
Okay.
And for those of you on the phone, our other vertical that we service is healthcare. We actually have another one, which might be a better example, which is office furniture.
Yeah.
So, everybody's out of the office. People aren't purchasing office furniture right now. So their interest over time was higher back here in 2019, and sadly has slid all the way down to a very, very low index of interest.
Yeah.
So the good news is it's for the industry that we're all in, we see huge amounts of interest still. And this continues to be super positive. The other thing that makes this a little bit more interesting is that there's still less advertisers out there in your industry. So what that means for everybody on the phone is the cost is still down. So you have more clicks available at a lower cost, and we all know what that essentially means is lower lead costs. So this is super positive for everybody everybody listening. This is what you want to be focused on.
Yeah.
Again, this is a free tool. It's super easy to use. I would encourage everyone to go out and really look at data like this. And I can tell you, and Brian mentioned this earlier, we work with all sizes of companies, from $1 million companies up to companies that are doing $500-600 million in the home improvement industry. The difference between, in my opinion, the companies that are doing 5-10 million plus is they have a basic understanding of the information that I'm sharing right now. My industry is just shrouded in like myth and misconceptions, and some people go out of their way to kind of blur the lines and fool people, where you can go out and very easily understand a lot of what I'm sharing.
Chris, let me just ask you, because you got such a pulse on what is going on out there, because leads are the lifeblood of any and every business, right? And so you're kind of the keeper. And by the way, those of you that don't know Chris, I've known Chris for I don't know, 7, 8 years now. And from our very first conversation about, because, what he's saying about his industry, which is the internet marketing industry. Oh my God. I mean, he's right. I mean, there's so much fluff and bullshit in that industry. It is unreal. And this is a guy that gets it. And this is why he's got clients that are, more, 100 million plus. I mean, you don't get clients that do 100 million plus unless what you're doing. With that said, what is kind of the outlook from some of those bigger players? What are they thinking that this year is going to look like? Do you have any sort of
I do. I think they see the first 6 months of this year is a very positive move for them.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone is coming out of that funk of like, when is this thing going to end? I think we all kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel at this point, where, another 4, 5, 6 months, this thing is going to be trending in the direction that we need it to.
Yeah.
I can tell you though, everyone that I work with thinks very far out into the future. Okay. They're not saying, well, I'm doing really well now, and Chris, the data you're showing me looks really good for the next 5 or 6 months. But what's going to happen in July and August? I mean, one of the reasons that we see data like this is because homeowners took the money they had set aside to go on vacation or do some of these other things and decided to spend it on their homes. And I'll just share like one story really quickly from a very forward-thinking company called Reborn Cabinets. Reborn Cabinets is engaged with a company called Destination Motivation, which does like cruise vouchers and vacation vouchers and things like that. And what they're doing is they're saying, look, we want to be ready for this. We want to remodel your house and give you a free vacation.
Yeah.
Because they know that in 5 or 6 months, that's going to be the mindset.
Yeah.
So,
it's very smart.
Yeah. You never live next week or next month or next quarter. Always be processing and understanding what's going to be happening 4, 5, 6, 8 months, a year down the road.
So we actually created a poll question. If you don't mind, this might be a good spot for us to put it in. Valerie, can you go ahead and launch that poll? So we're kind of curious about how you, the attendee here, yeah, good. You guys are all right. They're going. They're answering that poll question. And I'm kind of curious so we've got, I'm going to take my market by storm. So far, 45% of the people have answered that. The other is I'm cautiously optimistic. So half of the people have answered that. And then I'm concerned about how we're going to perform is super low, which is great. This doesn't mean you guys can stop answering the poll. Keep going. I want to see more. I want to see more data. Yeah, it's almost like a half and half between the first two.
Yeah, and I think that it's, when you look at the one, I'm going to take my market by storm.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that are going to take their market by storm. I mean,
yep.
I started my company in the middle of the Great Recession. It was 2007.
So did we.
And it was like, I left a great job. I was the vice president of a drug company. And I'm like, what am I doing? And you got to do it anyhow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is good. It's the first two, or it's like 50-50, it's like 50-50. Okay, cool. Let's close that out. All right. So
I'll kind of keep pushing forward here a little bit.
Yeah.
So where is search headed in 2021? Like what you see on the right-hand side is what we call in our industry a SERP. It's called a search engine results page. And, we start at the top and we have the LSAs and pay-per-click. I'm going to break all of these things down for you. But I can tell you in the last 3 or 4 years, the SERP, what you're looking at, has changed more drastically than it changed in the previous 21 years. And there's a very, very planned effort by Google to do something, which I'll share here in a few minutes. And as I take you through this, it'll make more and more sense. So let me begin to break this down with you really quick. The first thing that you see here is I conducted a search. I searched for replacement window Tampa. And at the very top of the page, and I have this big arrow pointing to it, are what's called local service ads, or LSAs is what Google calls them. And if you recall, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, everybody in my industry had just jammed the panic button hard, thought this was going to take over. This was going to, devastate pay-per-click and organic and the map listings, all of these things. And that most certainly did not happen. Okay. And if you really look at this, and I'll explain why it didn't work the way they thought it was going to work, because Google tried to get into that service model that's a little bit closer to some of the big aggregators, and they were not prepared for it. But there's experiential problems as well. The first thing to know that here is what's changing with this. Right now, when you build those ads, you basically say, hey, this is my daily budget, and this is what I'm willing to pay per lead, per phone call or per form. Okay, and I'm willing to pay $50 a lead, $60 a lead, $30 a lead. And that model was so appealing to everybody. Like, heck yeah, if I could be at the top, you get a $35, $40 lead, that's what I want to do. We'll know that that's changing as we speak. Some of you will still have the option to pay per lead, but in the larger, more competitive markets, Google is actually beginning to shift those into a more traditional pay-per-click model, to where if you're willing to pay per click and bid on a listing, then you'll show up, a little bit more at the top, a little bit more consistently. In the smaller markets, our expectation is that there'll still be an ability to do a pay-per-lead program, but Google realized what they were doing didn't work. They didn't get it right, though. They didn't understand why it doesn't work, in my opinion. And this is the reason I think it didn't work. So when you click on, any of these listings right here, it takes you to a page that looks like this. And I don't know this company. Window Wall is probably a great company. They got 19 5-star reviews. They're here in Tampa, but this is it. Okay, I live in Florida. We are like, I don't know if we're the hurricane capital of the world, but I can tell you every summer it feels that way. And windows here are expensive. I just put windows in my house. I can't believe what I had to spend to do it. I think every window was like $3,000 or $4,000 or something like that. And I have a lot of windows in this place. But this is it. So Google wants me to spend $100,000 on windows to come to a page that this is all they tell me. Yeah, they'll take, video estimates, jobs on this financing. There's no story. There's no experience. People don't like buying experiences like this. And this is why LSAs or local service ads did not work the way they expected them to work. It's a considered purchase. And if there's a considered purchase, you better create an experience. You have to sell them, really, in my opinion, more on the company than the product itself. And Brian's heard me say this a gazillion times, your company's more than the products, than the sum of the products that you offer. It's about the people, your belief system. That's what you're selling when you're selling into considered purchases. So this is why LSAs never performed the way that everybody claimed or thought that they would perform early on. Another thing to kind of break down here, and I'm getting to a point that I kind of teased earlier in all of this. We're looking at the Google paid ads right here. So all of these listings that go right through here. This is where a lot of people should start. I mean, if you're a new company going into a new market, you have a new website, let's say, pay-per-click is really the #1 lead generator right now. Okay. And, these ads are constantly being revised. It's a matter of bid and budget, essentially, will get you near the top of these things. But there's some interesting things happening. First, Google's changing how you're allowed to target. So you can no longer target by age. You can no longer target by gender. You can no longer target by marital status. In fact, you can't even target by zip code anymore.
No way. I didn't know this.
Yes. And it's a matter of them, how do I say this? The PC police kicked in.
Is that what that is? I was going to ask you if that's what that was.
Yeah. I mean, it's, age, gender, marital status. You can still target by area, but it's a much more time consuming process. Like when that changed for us, we had to go back through hundreds of clients and re-identify their target markets and make sure things were running in the right areas. And we had to lean harder on a demographic that you can still target, which is income. So you can still target by their rough income levels. So if you're doing pay-per-click yourself, make sure that you've reevaluated this. If you're working with an agency, make sure you're reevaluating this. But I do want to point out 3 more things really quickly. You'll see that phone number is right there. I put the arrow to it. Driving directions right there. phone number right there. All, I'm pointing to these things for a reason. And I will come back to why, but I will tell you that's a phone number provided by Google. It's a tracked number. Okay. I could call right from there and never click on the ad. I can click on the LSA ads and never go to your website. Okay. So as we come down, we look at the map pack, and this is going through a drastic change as well right now. In fact, it was probably the biggest thing talked about in a local marketing conference that we did virtually, is how do you promote yourself in the maps? Where before there were, all you did is you submitted yourself to 100 or 1,000 different directories. So if you're working with a company that says, we're going to submit you to 1,000 different directories, I've always said, oh yeah, name 4. Okay, name a directory that you go to on a consistent basis to find information that isn't Google. Okay, so we did a lot of that directory submission as well because it was called the citation, and a citation is essentially any occurrence of your name, address, phone number, and URL anywhere it appears on the web. And 6-8 months, a year ago, that was super important, and there's still a level of importance to it, but now Google is beginning to change that as well. And what they're saying is we want you to fill out as much information in your Google My Business profile, which is what, these are right here, GMB listings, as you possibly can. Fill out your Google posts, put offers in your ads. There's a questions and answers section in there. A lot of you have no questions in there whatsoever. So the first question that theoretically could be in there, it could be, why are you guys so expensive? And is that the first thing that you want to have show up? I would suggest seeding it. Seed it with a pretty benign, fair question, like where are you located? Do you have a showroom? Whatever it might be. But I would suggest seeding it because the more you fill out in your profile, the more likely you are to rank in these map packs. But we see in 2021, a lot of instability in these map packs that are about to be showing up. As you scroll down, which is kind of what that green arrow signifies.
And by the way, that right there, that's basically a free lead.
Absolutely.
You're not paying for that.
Everyone has to have a map pack.
Yeah.
And make sure you own it.
And with that too, there is some, and I don't understand it completely, but we do a lot of reviews and we're working to get our clients on this in the top 3. You got to have you got to have reviews. It's only 4.0 or higher here, right? And there's something with the amount of reviews and the recency of reviews and frequency of reviews as well.
Yeah, WeatherTight Windows leads this pack in this case because he has 574 reviews.
Yep, killing it.
It's not a coincidence. He seems like a nice guy and great company, very creative advertising.
Right.
But a lot of good reviews. So it's super positive. Know that these are very localized, by the market. It's we get a lot of questions on maps because a lot of people say, well, yeah, I service Tampa. Yeah, but you're in Carrollwood, which is just outside of Tampa. There's ways around that a little bit as well. But we do see a bit of instability in 2021 with the map packs.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. The next big thing, which I think is super interesting, and there's some great examples that I'm about to show you, are these people also ask. And, in my industry, we initiated down to PAA, people also ask. This did not exist in the home improvement space a year and a half, 2 years ago. It started off in the healthcare space about 5 years ago. Google tested it, and then they began to roll this out into other industries. Okay, and look at these questions really quick. And what happens is, in how you engage with this, the question just shows up. Excuse me, I'll scroll down here. So there's the pay-per-click, the map packs, and then right below the map packs are these people also ask questions. And you can click on that little down arrow that you see right there, and it answers the question right on the page. And I'll show you that in a minute. But there's 4 questions there now. When it first rolled out, it was 2 questions, then it went to 3, now there's 4. And what you see is there are 4, but there's really an infinite amount of questions. And you want to be the organization answering the question. Anybody can answer these questions. And what I want you to look at is that this is a glimpse into exactly what people think about your company. How much does it cost to replace impact windows in Tampa? Oh, and by the way, they're localized now. 6 months ago, they were all nationally driven results. Now they're all down to a local level. What's the average cost? Holy crap, it could cost that much in Tampa. Can I do this myself? Thankfully, no. And then which replacement window is the best? You need to be answering these questions. In fact, I would encourage you, if you're doing in-home presentations and you have these great platforms, through, I think it's Engage or, Leap or whatever it might be to help you through these things, answer these questions because this is what people are thinking. Google didn't pull this out of thin air. They aggregated billions of searches over a decade and said, we should answer these questions. And by the way, the user never clicks again to get to your website. Here's what actually happens when you click on one of these down arrows. More questions get opened up. Okay, so now it went from 4, and you can see we're looking at like 1, 2, 3, I don't know, 15 or so. I clicked on this one, which home replacement window is the best? My move, put up a page of content, and that's how you rank here, is through content that answered those questions. But look at these questions because it's pretty interesting. If you come down just below this area, what is the cheapest way? Should I replace all the windows at once? And I know we're all thinking, hell yeah. What's the best replacement window on the market? Is Pella better than Andersen? Why is Window World so cheap? Is Renewal by Andersen overpriced? Next question, is it worth the money? I mean, guys, this is like tapping into somebody's brain and getting a stream of consciousness of exactly what they're thinking. And these questions change based off of what you search.
And by the way, one of the key things of marketing is getting in the conversation that's already going on in the customer's head, right? The more you can get into the conversation that's going on in the customer's head. By the way, Chris, I'm blown away by this because I didn't know this existed. So this is new for me. And as a marketer, this is shit I need to know. And this is pretty amazing. Like, I mean, look at it. This is like you said, this is what people are thinking. And if you go in there and you start answering, I could see how powerful this is, not only for this section, but also what copy you put on your website, what you put in your ads, right? Because you could use this as research and to figure out, the ads that I'm gonna put out there. This is really interesting.
Google has got to be the largest data aggregator in the world.
Yeah.
I mentioned I'm in the healthcare space as well. The CDC goes to Google to help predict the severity of flu outbreaks. That's how much data they have.
Yeah.
It's a scary amount. But I mean, you look at this and you can just think of a million different ways of how you can change your other forms of marketing to really get more inside of people's heads.
Yeah.
But the thing I want to point out again is someone doesn't have to click to do this. Okay. Again, they're staying directly on Google's SERP, or search engine results page. And then as you come down a little bit further, then we get into the organic listings, which is still 35, 40% of all of the traffic out there. And it's the cheapest lead you can possibly get. I mean, some of these people that you're looking at are my customers. In fact, 2 of them on this page are. The first one, New South, and the third one, the Window Depot. These people measure their CPLs less than $5 from an organic standpoint. And what you'll see here is, the first thing that shows up is New South Window, replacement Windows Tampa. Google served the page that was most relevant to the user's search. So having a big website is really, really important. And people say, well, how big should my website be? Well, how many products do you sell? Do you do windows, siding, gutters, shutters, and roofing? Well, that's 5 products. You service 10 territories. At a bare minimum, if you never hit a single keyword variant, you need 50 pages. So these companies like Window World and New South and Window Depot have figured out the bigger my website is, the more likely it is to rank, and the cheaper the leads I will get. I will tell you, the big companies that we work with, they look at their digital marketing in aggregate a lot. They'll say, well, every lead that, from pay-per-click to LSAs to organic lead flow, my lead cost was this, especially when they do other forms of marketing. And then from there, we break out branded campaigns to help them identify how their TV is performing or their radio is performing. But all of these things are critical to the success of what you're doing digitally. One of the last things I'll show you here before I kind of sum up what's happening with Google is here's just another great research tool. Okay, first, I want to answer a question that I get very, very consistently. I'll look at that middle search result there, where people say, Chris, do people still type in the city, that they're looking for? Do they just type in the keyword and then Google automatically does everything for them? And the answer is yes and no. Some people absolutely still type in roofing company, Tampa, Clearwater, Chicago, wherever it might be. But what you're looking at are 3 examples of Google Instant, where Google is saying, this is what you should be clicking on. So if I use that middle example, roofing company up Clearwater, I live in Clearwater. I'm right next to Tampa. So yes, if they're not typing in the keyword in tons of cases, they're adding in the territory that's associated with it because Google pushed them into it. They wanted to abbreviate that process and push them into a specific keyword. Another thing to look at here on the right, if you look at replacement windows, you have near me in Tampa for mobile home. Most of you probably don't do that. So just a quick tip, get with your paid media company and make sure they negative keyword out things like mobile home, truck, car, because you don't sell those types of windows. Cost, Bradenton. In my opinion, in most cases, you should negative out things like Home Depot because those people normally want the least expensive window you can possibly get. But just again, another great research tool that is right in front of us. We've all seen it a gazillion times, but did we ever stop and think, how can I use this data to change my marketing and be more effective in my messaging? What I'll wrap this up with is everything that I've showed you is an attempt to Google to control the conversation, which part of me does not like in any way, shape, or form. But the other part of me understands it. So just to sum this back up, if we go to the top, local service ads lands on a page that Google owns. These phone numbers that are in the pay-per-click ad copy, those are Google's phone numbers. I never have to click on your website. I can get directions and never
Chris.
click on your website.
Hey,
Yes.
Chris, sorry. Somebody had a question on Google Ads. How do you make the phone number next to the domain like what you have there? And I believe that's just done automatically by Google, right?
It is. It's just a setting in your account that you turn on. It's very easy to do. And they'll give you phone numbers because they want to control that phone call. So it's a perfectly timed question.
Yeah.
They want to control the call, the maps. They want, they have the people also ask on there because all of those things are answered on SERP. Okay. And that's Google's goal is to have as many transactions as they possibly can or leads gathered as they possibly can on the page that you're seeing without ever visiting your website. Now, that can be scary for people. Like when we first started realizing what they were doing about a year ago, maybe even 2 years ago at this point, we're like, geez, this could be bad. People are going to see maybe less traffic at their websites. And that did come to fruition to some part. In some cases, traffic is not quite what it used to be. However, leads did not change. And in fact, what we saw is the people that went through the process of hitting the people also ask, or going through the process of clicking on the ads because they learned so much about your organization already, actually converted at a higher level. So while traffic might come down a little bit because of an effort of them keeping things on SERP, don't be too panicked by it. We expect that lead flow will actually increase. We've actually seen that in the data. So, it's a little scary on the surface. Don't worry too much about it, especially, we have these things covered for our clients and are adapting strategies to do these things. But, this is where it's going. And the primary reason is for mobile devices. Google doesn't want people to click and have to load another page and load another page and load another page and load another page. They know that this is quicker for that mobile experience, which is 65% of all the traffic now, at least.
Hey, Chris, we have Kristen is asking, is voice gaining any traction?
So it is in certain industries. It's a little bit less in the home improvement space, but it's a great question because the people also ask section, those questions are primarily sampled by voice. And when you optimize for people also ask through content, and the way that you do it is through what's called long form content, typically at least 750 words, preferably closer to 1500 words, where you answer multiple questions on one page of content. Typically that will help you rank in voice search. So it's beginning to gain a little bit more traction. And when you speak your voice search into your cell phone device is where it's growing most quickly in the home improvement industry. And I don't want to say Alexa too loud because I'm surrounded by them. Um, the Alexa side of things is not gaining traction quite as quickly as speaking search into your cell phone.
Yeah, cool. Okay, awesome.
So like, the last thing that I'll kind of hit on is just look, take time to understand not just your product, because it's not just about your product and how they search for it, but know how they're searching for it and begin to proactively address some of those concerns. Understand where you should be focusing your efforts. If you're a larger company, 5, 8, $10 million, start going after people also ask. Try to take up as much space on the SERP as you possibly can. I didn't talk about mobile experience on this call because it's an hour-long conversation. We're going to be doing more webinars, so look out for emails around analytics and mobile experience. But I will tell you, there's a company in California called Reborn Cabinets. The URL's there on the right. Is the high watermark. It just won gold at Marcom for design and usability. This is what you're trying to do. Mobile navigations, use of video, branded content. And this is a 5G experience, okay? And we haven't talked about 5G at all. A lot of people think, 5G means, well, it's 5 gigs. We went from 4 to 5. It's not at all what it means. It's the 5th generation, and it is a generational update. It's going to allow you to build out a more robust experience using video, bigger imagery. I mean, there's even talk of holograms and things like that. It's a huge speed gain, and it's going to completely change the mobile marketing experience. So, I'll put my information up on the screen. I'm not going anywhere. I'll be here to answer questions as well. Certainly appreciate it, and I'll take more questions as we go through this.
Right? Yep, hang out. All right, let's flip back. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on a second. There we go. It was so much easier when we did this in our first test run. Okay, so that was awesome. And that was like just a little bit of all of what's involved in the internet marketing space, which is a huge driver of leads in this industry, as we know. If you want to know more, obviously go to sociusmarketing.com, and if you're not working with them, you should try to. All right, so now if we look at creating customers, we talked about the other two pieces that we're not going to get into detail here. We are going to at Accelerate is now that you've got the lead, you're not done. Now you got to take that lead and you got to convert it into an appointment where we can actually go and see somebody and try and sell them something. Then we got to actually sell them something. Now, when we sell them something, now we're in this bucket of keep. And what I mean by keep is it's providing an experience to that customer to where they're thrilled with us, to where they're going to give us a review, where they're going to want to come back and buy from us again. And then, of course, the multiply piece is how do we get them to bring their friends, their family, their neighbors, their coworkers? Okay. So a little bit about how we're going to do that. And by the way, for those of you that don't know me, just like with Chris, I'm not going to give you a whole big long background story, but we started back in 2009 at G4 Marketing Group. And essentially what we are is we're the kind of the back office relationship marketing for hundreds of home improvement companies around the country. It's interesting. So I just pulled some stats, and in the last 12 months, our clients have collectively, obviously, have completed over 100,000 jobs. And at retail, you're looking at, 750 million to 900 million in revenue. So we've got a lot of their customers are, coming through G4 marketing and our processes in our systems. And we come from the home improvement industry. We also do the I do the Wealthy Contractor podcast, of which Chris has been a guest. We've got the book, The 7 Secrets to Becoming a Wealthy Contractor. And we also put on this event, Accelerate Live. And the reason I'm showing you all of this stuff is because we've got a little bit of experience in what we're going to talk to you about here. And I just wanted to make sure that I laid that out to you. So when we look at keeping and multiplying customers, and again, we're going to go into this in a lot more detail at Accelerate, but I just want to give you kind of an outline here that you could start to think about. And the outline that we use is this referral success blueprint. And it's got 5 steps to it. And this is everything that you're going to do, starting with, when you first start off, and I'm sorry, I skipped something. Step 1 here is starts before you even do lead generation, before you even go out and sell anything, before you even install anything. And that is, what is my commitment to my customer? And am I out here to just get a sale so I can, or get a customer so I can make a sale? Or do I want to make a sale so I can get the customer? Now, the distinction there is that by getting the customer has more value than the sale does. The sale is a one-time event. The customer is an ongoing relationship. And so at the beginning, you've got to be committed to this idea that, hey, I am going to do everything I can to create a lifetime relationship with this customer, because again, the customer has a ton more value than just the sale. Okay, so that is number 1 here, is having that commitment. Number 2 is when you're talking about reviews, referrals, and repeat business. So taking that one-time sale and leveraging that into more sales and more profit, you've got to earn the right to all of that. Now, reviews are tough to get, as a lot of you know. Referral is the toughest lead to make. And getting customers to come back and buy from you again, these are not simple jobs. But if you put the process in place, you can make this happen. And it all starts with earning the right to a review or referral. And this is all about the experience that you are delivering to your customer. I'm not going to go through these stats, but I'm going to tell you, well, why don't they refer you more? So if you've got low referral rates, if you've got low, numbers of people that are giving you reviews, if you've got a low number of people that are coming back and buying from you again, these are some of the reasons why. In fact, these are the main reasons why. One is your customer experience was just okay. It was just all right. In this day and age, that doesn't fly anymore. To me, a satisfied customer is a liability. To me, every company, every business needs to have a process in place to create a raving fan. A raving fan is worth infinitely more to you than just a satisfied customer. Okay, so you've got to look at your customer experience. Number two is you didn't give them a good enough reason to refer you. I call this, you didn't give them a story to tell. So if you don't give your customer a story to tell their friends, their family, their neighbors, their coworkers, the internet in general as a review, then getting any of those things is going to be very difficult. You didn't ask them for it, and you didn't ask them enough, right? You didn't stay in touch with them and keep continuously reminding them of who you are and the value that you bring and the solutions you provide. And you didn't make them feel special and appreciated as your customer. And when you're talking about, when we're looking at customer experience, and we do a whole workshop on this the day after Accelerate, a full day workshop on the customer experience. But I'll give you a simple question that you could ask yourself right now, and that is to look at every interaction point that you have with your customer and ask them a very simple question. At this interaction point, how do we get that customer to say, wow? Wow, you wouldn't believe how professional these guys were. Wow, you wouldn't believe how clean they were. Wow, you wouldn't believe how fill in the blank. The more times you can get them to say, wow, the more likely you are to get reviews, referrals, and get them coming back and buying more from you. Step number 3 is demonstrating appreciation, saying thank you for your business. Now, this one's interesting because if you think about most businesses out there and most of the places that you frequent, most places do a really horrible job of thanking their customers and making them feel like, hey, thank you. We appreciate you choosing us. Of all of the choices that you had, you chose us. Thank you. Okay. And by doing that, by really making that effort, you make them feel special. You stand out in their mind. I mean, aside from the fact that it's just the right thing to do. I mean, somebody spending 10 grand with you, that's a lot of money to most people, right? And by, going, doing the job and all of that, and then that's it. They don't hear from you, see you, get a thank you from you. It's just not a good way, to me, to do business. But it also is going to inhibit and not give you all of those other things you need, which is reviews and referrals and repeat business. So we always say thank you the right way. Say thank you the right way. Have something show up at their house. Have a heartfelt message. Let them know that they are important to you. Okay. Step number 4 here is earning and using 5-star reviews to your advantage. So how do you get more 5-star reviews? Well, it's like anything in this business. You have to have a process for it. You have to have a system for it. You have to ask. You have to make it easy for your customer to give you a review, right? And right now, the big 3, and I don't know if Chris has a different opinion on this, but big 3 right now is Google. You want to be driving reviews to Google. If they don't have a Google account, which they need in order for them to leave a Google review, then you can drive them to Facebook. Everybody's got a Facebook account, almost everybody. And if that doesn't work, and they don't have that, then you can drive them to Better Business Bureau. Those are the big 3. And the reason why they're the big 3, obviously for Google, but why Facebook and Better Business Bureau? Because those show up on page 1. When you do a search for your company name and reviews, and you have a Facebook presence, more than likely that's going to show up on page 1. More than likely, Better Business Bureau is going to show up on page 1. And so that's why those are the places that you want to drive reviews. Now, if you're serious about getting reviews, okay, if you're serious about getting reviews, now we have to go back one step and look at, well, did you make your customer feel appreciated? Did you make them feel special? Go back. Did you give them an experience that was worth a 5-star review? Go back again. Does everybody in your company have a commitment to creating a customer for life? You see, these things all stack on each other. Now, for our clients, we don't take any of this stuff for granted, right? We use email, we use text messaging, and we use direct mail to help our clients drive more reviews. We also help them on probably the most important piece of this is, how do you create an experience that's worth a 5-star review? Okay. By the way, here's a thing that we found. This is a proven way that I have all the data to back this up, to get 3.5 times more reviews from your customers on those sites that matter. And that is, send them something. Send them a thank you box, which is one of the things we do for our clients. And we measured clients that sent a box versus clients that did not send a box. And this is what we found: a 350% increase on the top 3, Google, Facebook, and Better Business Bureau, all the way through, right? So that stuff works. And then finally, the last piece of this, and this is a place too where, you know, business people will spend a fortune on the front end for a click, drive them to a website, to a landing page, spend a fortune on people in a call center to take that and convert it into an appointment, then take that appointment, issue it to a salesperson who's gone through training and gone through, you know, has an iPad with a, you know, they'll go through all of that. They'll do the job. So they'll need installers and they need to do the job right. They go through all of this and they get paid. And then at the end, they just go away. They don't stay in touch with the customer. They think that, oh, I've already spent all the money I need to spend to get the customer. I don't need to spend any more money to keep that customer. They know me now. That's BS. And if you want to maximize your profitability in 2021 and you want to build stability, at some point, and we didn't talk about this, but we're going to talk about this at Accelerate, is at some point, this is going to normalize, right, Chris? I mean, this cannot continue at this level for the next 5 years. It may not even last for another 5 or 6 months. And so what we all have to do as business owners is we got to make sure that every single customer that is coming through right now, we are doing everything we can to make sure that this customer is going to be with us for years and years to come. Because when things normalize and when lead flow starts to drop off, and it's probably not going to be a huge drop off, but it's going to be enough of a drop off to where if you are relying only on cold new traffic, you may have some issues with lead costs going way up and not having enough leads to hit your numbers. And so how do you hedge against that? How do you make sure that you're not going to be negatively impacted by that? You keep in touch with every single customer that comes in. And how do you do that? We do it through email. We do it through direct mail. The best way to do it, and I'll kind of wrap it up here, is through a company newsletter. Now, best practices that we have found, again, doing this for hundreds of companies, day in and day out, week after week, month after month, quarter after quarter, year after year, company newsletter, email version and print. You gotta be in the mailbox. You cannot rely on email alone. There's much less competition in the mailbox. And one of the things that I love the most is I can come in under the radar. It's a stealth strategy for a market. It's a stealth marketing strategy. So company newsletter can't be all about you and the products that you sell, right? So we actually, in all of the newsletters that we send out, there's very little in there about product. It's more about building a relationship with that customer, right? So we do recipes, we do a message from the owner, we do fun facts, we just do things that are going to engage them and entertain them for a few minutes every quarter. This does not mean, though, that we aren't selling. We are, and we're using the newsletter to sell future work, and we're using the newsletter to drive referrals, okay? But regardless, the concept here is that you want to stay in touch with every single one of your customers. These are just some of the things that are included in a referral program that's going to work. You can't take referrals for granted. Hope is not an effective business strategy. You've got to have a system in place, and you got to work that system. Okay. So G4, this is all the stuff that we do for our clients. Let's put up the, we've got a few more things, and we've got some questions here to answer. So Valerie, would you mind putting up that poll and see if anybody, who of you are interested in working either with Socius Marketing or with G4 Marketing? Just let us know here. Got a poll up. Go ahead and answer that poll. Faster you answer it, the faster we will put it down.
And guys, even if you have a question about your website or what you're doing and you're not looking for a full-blown engagement, we're here to help. I mean, we love the home improvement industry. I mean, these people are my best friends at this point.
Yeah.
If you just have a question or a concern, let us know. We'll just happily answer that question for you.
Yeah. And us too. And a lot of what we'll do, like if you go and you meet with Ted or Eli at Socius, what are they going to do? They're basically going to give you all of the information. Here's how to be successful. And then at the end, it's like, do you want to work with us or do you not want to work with us? Same thing with G4 Marketing, by the way. We're going to walk through the process with you. We're going to look at what you're doing, right? We're going to show you what we do. And then at the end, it's like, well, you could go do it yourself or hire somebody else, or you could work with us. I mean, it's entirely up to you. But look, one of the big things, and I'm going to talk about Accelerate again, one of the big things about going to an event like Accelerate and being involved in things like that is you get to meet people like Chris, like Brian, that are partners for your success. You can't do all of this on your own. And one of the big things about Accelerate that we talk about is creating a business that works for you, not you working for the business, creating a business that works for you. Well, how do you create a business that works for you? You don't do it by doing everything yourself. You can't do everything yourself. That's why you have to have a team of people around you, right? And in that team of people around you, you want to go and you want to look for experts in given fields. Every successful company owner that Chris and I know and that we work with, they recognize, hey, we don't do everything on our own. We're not good at everything. There are people that are good at, like Chris mentioned, destination motivation. Caleb, Chris doesn't do vacation vouchers. I don't do vacation vouchers, but you go with Caleb and you do the vouchers, he's going to show you, he's going to come into your company and train your people on how to use those things. Our friends at Market Sharp, Tim, if you don't have a CRM system or you're not happy with your CRM system, you got to be looking at somebody like Tim Mush, who's been in the industry for 30 something years, right? As long as Chris and I combined, probably. Yeah. Why would you not want to have this person on your team?
If I could add something, Brian, like something that stood out to me, it's been 5 or 6 years ago. I flew up to Detroit and I spent the day with Brian Elias with Hanson's Home Improvement.
Yeah.
And he's like, just come out and hang out with me. We'll have a good time. And, he sat there and, I wanted to talk about business and we did talk about business, but it turned into him kind of mentoring me. And to me, he's one of the most amazing people of doing that. And I remember it was like 4 o'clock and I'd been there since 10. And he goes, Chris, how many times did my phone ring today? How many times did people come into my office? And I'm doing my Brian Elias impersonation. I hope he's okay with it. And I'm like, I'm not sure it rang at all today. He goes, not one freaking time, Chris, not one time. Because I manage the exception.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all that I manage.
And look, Brian's a good friend of mine too. And it's amazing to me. So last week I had lunch with a client that last year did over $160 million. and he's just relaxed. He bought a house down here. We had lunch. I was with him for, I don't know, 2.5 hours. Same thing. How many times did people call him? You know, to think the business is running, and we're going. By the way, again at Accelerate, we're going to show you how to do this, right? We're going to show you how to build a business that works without you. I was with a client 2 days ago. Does over $100 million. Runs 1, 2, 3, 4 companies that I know of, and we're sitting in his office. Me, his operations manager, and the owner. And this guy's like just relaxed. Nobody's bugging him. He's on the phone, and that's how it's supposed to be. In fact, we were talking about it. And it's funny. It's like he doesn't even know a lot of stuff that's going on in the company. Right? He's got a vision for the company. And so
you got to work on it and not in it. If you're in it every day, you're probably not doing it right. And it took me 5 or 6 years to learn that lesson. And once I did, that's when we saw growth and efficiency and happy customers and all of those things.
Yeah.
You try to do it all yourself, you're going to let yourself down at some point.
Yeah. All right. So we have some questions and some comments. So does Chris have a refrigerator next to him?
I do. And, I'm not sure if it's funny. It's mostly just Diet Coke. I don't know if
somebody was asking.
This is a function of my life. I have a giant tin of Snickers bars.
Nice.
So that's my main vice right there. So
yeah, that's nice.
If that's the worst thing I do, I think I'm okay.
Yeah. Chris, I did that because Chris was making fun of me and my background before we turned on the recording. So I had to get him back. But somebody did it. I was Jen. Kristen said, love our relationship with Socius. That's awesome.
Awesome.
Matt, does G4 offer a similar product as Hatch as far as instant communication? We're a little bit different than Hatch. We take a more holistic approach. Hatch has like 1 or 2 of the things. You'll want to have a conversation with Pete or with Dustin, and they'll be able to show you some of the differences, but you probably want to have both. Greg is asking, for home improvement, has Yelp declined as a priority for reviews?
Yes. It has. Yelp is a 4-letter word. It absolutely has.
Yep.
Thank God.
Thank God is right.
Yeah.
So also for solar energy contractors, are other review sites important, such as solarreviews.com?
So I have some experience in that. Yes, that is an important website. Solar is a little bit of a different animal. To me, there's a giant opportunity for people to looking to advertise solar through the avenues that we just talked about. Solar historically has been very heavy, relying on lead aggregators. And the problem with aggregate leads is you better race to get to them because 4 or 5 other people are going to call them after you. So solar is definitely starting to grow. It's very efficient lead at this point as well. So we're excited about solar. We've been to previously that big solar conference, and unfortunately it's been canceled in the last year or so, but that's a new industry that we think is really going to take off.
So a related question showed up, and that is, would you say guild quality reviews are on a similar level of importance in our industry as Google and Facebook? And I say absolutely not even close. Now, Chris will probably say something a little bit different, but from my experience, and in fact, the client that I was just talking about, the $100 million client, one of their big initiatives is to get more reviews. And one of the things that I know is that when we put a third-party site like that in the mix, it will suppress response on that site. So if guild quality, by the way, I have nothing bad to say. I think it's a great platform. It's a great system. But for me, I'd rather have a Google review. To me, that's got more value than a guild quality review. Same thing with the solarreviews.com. That's probably good, but that's like a lead aggregator. Google reviews, you still want to try and have your customer go in both places. But if you ask them for too much, they're going to do they'll do one or the other and that's it from my experience.
Guild does a great job of getting reviews on Guild. I mean, I think, what I like about them is that their website does rank in SERPs a lot of the times. So it's another way to take up another slot.
Yeah.
But Google is definitely, you have to start with Google. Without Google reviews, you're not going to rank in the map pack. And you need to rank in the map pack.
Yeah. Jen said this was a very informative Zoom. You continue to amaze me on never running out of topics and relevant advice. Well, look, Chris is the best in this area of lead generation, internet marketing. Chris is the man, and I very, very rarely will recommend anybody else except Socius unless they can't work with you. Then I might, depending on situation. Otherwise, they are the company to work with. And Chris, from my first conversation with you, man, 7 or 8 years ago, I'm like, oh man, this guy is like, he's doing it the right way. And oh, by the way, Jen, if you like this was an hour. In 2 days, I'm selling Accelerate hard because this is going to be the event that's going to set you up for 2021. By the way, you have 100% risk-free money-back guarantee. If you join us virtually the first 2 hours, that's all I ask, 2 hours, and you don't get 100 times your investment back, then you just send us an email and we'll send you your money back. All right. Socius does integrate with Market Sharp.
Love Market Sharp.
Yeah. Do your PPC leads automatically get fed into Market Sharp?
Right into Market Sharp or right into your dialer. If you have a dialer, we could push into either.
Okay. So Matt, yes, and into a dialer.
Brian, we do have the poll for Accelerate if you want. We can.
Oh, yes. Go launch it. Who wants to come? I just look, I'm going to put up the poll, but at the end of this, I just want you guys to go and just go to accelerateevent.com. Use the coupon code there. Again, you are not going to see this again. So use that coupon code that's there. We're at the end. I mean, like I said, live is pretty much sold out. Virtual, we still have a little bit. The only thing, Chris, just for you to know this too, is what's the date today? Today's the 7th, right? So about 1 week from now, so we're going to have, I was telling Chris, there's a big box that is going out to all virtual attendees. There's going to be a bunch of stuff in there. There's going to be the workbook, which is the most important thing. You're going to get an actual physical workbook. We're not doing a Zoom virtual where you got to download and print out all these worksheets. No, you're getting 100 and something page workbook delivered to you in a box with a bunch of other goodies. In order to get that before the event, you got to register by, I think it's the 15th, right, Valerie?
Yes.
Yeah,
14th would be best, but 15th is good too.
That's the only way that we can guarantee that you will have your box in time for Accelerate. Otherwise, if it's after that, that's fine. I'm sure that we have people that are going to register the day of, but at that point, you're going to have to download worksheets. Okay, you're going to have to download them and print them out because we do work at Accelerate. And if you do the work, it'll change your business, and it will change, dare I say, it'll change your life. All right. So cool. So a whole bunch of people are going to join us for Accelerate Virtual. Cool. Nobody that said in person, but a whole bunch of people that said virtual. All right. Any other questions? Is Accelerate for business owners? It is for business owners. It is really designed for business owners, Greg. Yeah, you will be, we have how many companies do we have, Valerie? Like 140?
I think we're over 150 now.
150 companies, company owners. Now some companies are bringing other people. They bring, we've got somebody that's actually bringing their whole team to the live event. We have some people that are bringing like a head, we call it your head GSD, your get shit done person. That's a good person to bring with you to accelerate and have them with you. All right. So I think that we are wrapped here. Again, sociusmarketing.com. Go check them out. We'll reach out to you guys, whoever filled out the poll. Chris's guys and my guys will be reaching out to you in the next couple of days, and just be on the lookout for that. Anything else you want to add, Chris?
No, I mean, I'm excited about 2021. I mean, I think, everyone needs to have that mindset that we're going to go out there regardless of what happens, and we're going to do what we do, and we're going to be successful. So.
Okay, cool. All right, everybody. So I am going to end this webinar. Chris, again, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
I'm gonna give you a quick call.
Awesome.
Because I gotta shut this down. All right, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.